Hello, everybody, and welcome to DreamHack Montreal 2018. My name is Cora Georgiou, and we are kicking things off here from the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. And joining me for the beginning of the show, we have Firebat and Lorinda on the desk. Guys, it's so great to see you here. My second DreamHack Montreal, the fourth event of the year. Firebat, we haven't actually seen you behind the desk in a while. How you doing, man?
Really good. Yeah, it's been about a year or so since I've been casting, so hopefully not too rusty. Hopefully able to, cast the games well. But yeah, just happy to be here, happy to be back. Happy to be back at events. I've seeing a lot of familiar faces and a lot of new faces. It's just really great to be a part of.
Yeah, I imagine for you it's a little bit like coming home. This is what you're so used to, and it's really great to have you here, so thank you so much. And Lorinda, you've been making the tour stop rounds this year. You have been very busy. You excited to be in Montreal?
Very much so. This is one of my favourite dream hacks last year. It sort of looks like I'm in Europe, but all the benefits of being in NA, so it's got both the good things all at once for me. I love it here.
Montreal's an absolutely beautiful city, and of course we have the benefit of being located actually in the Olympic Stadium from the 1976 Olympics here for this year's event. It's absolutely incredible, the atmosphere in this building. But of course, we've got to get right down to business. We are going to be playing 9 Swiss rounds over the course of the weekend, as well as a cut to top 16. And from then on, we will find our champion, $15,000 in a prize pool on the line, as well as many very important HC points that these players are playing for, as well as that beloved title. And last year's winner, Muzzy, is in the building. He will be playing to try and retain that DreamHack Montreal Championship title. We also have players from all over the world, players from very prominent teams like obviously Team Tempo Storm, Team Fate to Karma are here. So we have a lot to really look forward to over the course of this weekend.
Yeah, Fate to Karma actually caught me off guard because when I checked the sign-ups about 4 or 5 days ago, they hadn't signed up. And they just came out here anyway. So Ball Control and Fino, basically the two leaders in DreamHacks this year in terms of matches won. And Fate to Karma, they led all the way until the very, very end when Muzzy stole the team championship from them for the season 2.
Any perception that you have of Team Fate to Karma, Firebat? I know from the outside looking in, maybe you've seen a lot of them play.
I've definitely seen a lot of them play. We've had Board Control recently popularize a new version of Hunter that is just catching fire all over the ladder now. The Board Control Hunter, everyone's hitting Legend with it, doing quite well with the secret package, but also a bunch of mid-rangey minions in there as well. So it's cool to see people still innovating on the metagame, especially when people were starting to say, Quest Rogue's ruining the metagame, and then people are finding unique solutions to it.
Well, we're speaking a little bit about Team Fate to Karma because, of course, our first match is going to be a member of that team. It is Glaser taking on a Canadian native, Purple, of course, representing Gamers Origin. So these are two very prominent players going head-to-head in round number 1. We've already got several professional players that have matched up across a field of over 160 players. This is going to be quite a nice match to get things underway. So let's take a look at their picks and bans. We're not wasting any time here today. And it is going to be Glaser with the Warrior band away, so Druid, Warlock, Rogue. Purple with Rogue, Warlock, Warrior, and Druid band away. So same exact classes. You guys have the deck archetypes because, of course, for this entire year, deck lists are open for the duration of DreamHack events. Anything that you guys are taking away from these lineups? Any perceptions?
Purple's got a very anti-aggressive lineup. He has a lot of Tar Creepers in all of his decks, pretty much. Tar Creeper is a taunt minion that gets bonus attack on your opponent's turn. So it's an overstated taunt minion that's used to shut down aggressive decks. And he also has just anti-aggressive archetypes with the Odd Warrior. So it makes a lot of sense that he's banning away the Warrior from Glaser, as anti-aggro tech doesn't work very well against the most heavy-duty control deck in the game.
I think we're going to see a lot of Odd Warriors banned out today. It seems to be in a lot of lineups. It makes sense because it's got such a good percentage against the field in general. Like you say, there's 1 or 2 bad matchups, some really bad matchups. But in terms of Last Hero, you don't mind that so much.
Right, exactly. It's not a Conquest format. It's Last Hero Standing format. So that means if one of your decks is unable to, or has a hard time getting a win, it's not going to cost you the entire series like it does in Conquest, where you can lose with the same deck multiple times. In Last Hero, if you lose with a deck once, you don't have to play it anymore. You're going to move on to one of your other decks.
Yeah, it is nice that we have this rather unique format to the DreamHack Hearthstone Grand Prix. And we do have one new interesting feature, and we want to get you all at home involved. We are polling the audience here and seeing who you think is going to take this series. So everybody in Twitch chat, use the hashtag Glaser if you think Glaser's going to take this win, or hashtag Purple if you're rooting for Canadian native Purple here in the first match of the day. I know that Glaser in particular has had some success as of recent, and Purple is just a name that you've seen for years in the Hearthstone scene. So this one could be a bit tough to call.
Be interested if Glaser can remake his name as a thing as well, because he's kind of the third wheel in F2K at the moment. The other's going so well. And his Israeli colleague, Hatul, recently just qualified for the championship. So suddenly Glaser's like second place there as well.
He was a big name back in the HGG last year. He was captain of his HGG team and did a lot of good work. I had to play against his HGG team, so I know he's a very tough opponent and a very strong competitor. And as well, I've lived with Purple and played with Purple for years, so I know both of these guys pretty well and have played against both of them before, and I'd say they're definitely no one to be messed with for sure.
Yeah, Glaser's been doing a lot of work on his, I want to call it, I don't know, commitment. Like, he used to bring decks that he liked.
Okay.
Now he brings decks that are good. One of the things that's changed in his game. He's got 79 match wins this year alone, just in tour stops. So
that's a
he's
lot.
Played a lot of Hearthstone this year.
Definite dedication for sure. A lot of traveling too, racking up those airline miles. Yeah.
It's always nice. Maybe adopting more of that competitive professional player mentality where you certainly want to enjoy the game. It is a game at heart, but you, of course, need to find that success as well to keep up, especially in the team standings. Firebat, you said that you personally know Purple very well. Does that mean you're rooting for Purple here, or do you think Glaser's going to take this one?
Well, I'm not going to have a biased cast at all.
Yes, you are.
I want both people to win, honestly. If I could vote for hashtag tie, I would. So,
it's a good thing we didn't make that an option.
That's not going to work this week, Firebat. You're going to have to be put on the spot every game.
Give me a name, Bat. What's it going to be?
I guess I'll vote for Purple then. If I have to pick a name, you know, you have to pick the guy that you've lived with for multiple years, that you've practiced with. I've been on teams with Purple and such, so, you know, I can't really root against him too hard.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, he's a very, very intelligent player, very quick mind. Yeah, I've never seen him play too badly at anything. He's definitely not a player that's going to throw. He's really good at, like, lethal puzzles and picking up things very quickly.
Yeah, very keen, very, very intelligent man. Lorinda.
Well,
do you agree?
It's going to be a close one, I agree, actually. It's going to be close. I think Purple has got a renewed interest in the game. I think there's a couple of months where he wasn't necessarily so into it, but talking to him a few minutes ago, he's really into this again. But I feel that Glaser's just not going to let Hatul get away with being the only Israeli big qualifier. I think Glaser gets this one down.
Yeah, I'm leaning your way a little bit the more I look at the lineups, right? Because Purple has
That's cheating. What? Your friends.
Purple has this Odd Warrior, right? And the Odd Warrior is coming up against Even Warlock, it's coming up against Token Druid, and it's coming up against the Quest Rogue, namely. So it's got the hard counter already in there, which is going to give it a little bit of a rough time, as maybe starting the series down 0-1, depending on how the leads go.
I mean, you are the reigning last hero standing world champion. Because there hasn't been one since you won it.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've played last hero, but the lineups seem to tend towards Glaser a little bit, so...
All right, but you're staying with Purple.
I'm staying with Purple.
I'm going to force you to stay with Purple. Lorinda with Glaser.
The lineups aren't that much of a disparity.
Yeah.
There's definitely a lot of wiggle room in this series for it to go either way.
There's certainly a lot to consider then with the last hero standing format. I'm going to give my nod to Glaser. I'm a big Purple fan. He's a great guy. I got to hang out with him a little bit in China last year, and he's really an intelligent Hearthstone player. But I think that Glaser just, he's been more committed to the game as of late. I'm really, really happy that Purple is getting back into it, and I hope to see him continue, riding this wave, and I hope he finds the passion for the game again, because I think the game is better with Purple in it. But I'm going to have to give my vote to Glaser on this one. I just think he knows what he's doing here, and now we need to know, what did the audience decide? Is it going to be Purple or Glaser based on our audience poll? And it is
0-0.
Apparently not a lot of votes in the audience. That's okay. Well, we'll get more and more as the day goes on. Rather anticlimactic, I'm not going to lie, but that just means that our votes matter more. And as casters, that's, we really need that validation. So, without further ado, let's get our first round underway. DreamHack Montreal 2018. It is Purple versus Glaser.
Welcome to DreamHack Oh, sorry. Welcome to DreamHack Montreal. I'm Firebat. Joining me is Lorinda. We are going to be casting Glacier versus Purple here at the Olympic Stadium in Montreal. Do you think we're going to have a gold medal match to start it off?
I think we're going to have a gold medal tournament. Firebat is going to be gold all the way. We've got such a lineup here in this tournament. We haven't even had time to bring in sort of the likes of Muzzy, last year's champion, Seiyun, the year that he launched from Montreal last year, and just the general HCT in general. It's going to be interesting to see how this goes, and we have got the first of 9 rounds of Swiss is underway, and Purple, showing why he is so well respected in the world of Hearthstone, draws Keleseth in his opening hand.
That'll help you. And this matchup, typically speaking, leans way towards the Zoot side. The tech choices from Purple of Tar Creeper and some of the more defensive options don't really help him at all in the matchup against the Quest Rogue, but it's such an overwhelming archetype advantage that I don't think the tech choices are really going to hurt him too much, and with how he's drawing, it's going to work out quite nicely. Now, the Quest Rogue can win this matchup, but it takes a little bit of effort to make it happen. One of the big key cards he's going to need to find is a Vanish at some point.
Yeah, the Zoo is kind of slow to repopulate boards these days. In between drawing its cards and its cards, a little bit more expensive than traditional Zoo when the 1-drops have come and gone.
Sure. With most things, the one exception to that rule of the reloading the board is sometimes you have Happy Ghouls, which are just free. Yeah. So they get vanished back, and then you heal and play them again for 0 mana. It can really help negate the power of Vanish in the matchup.
And this is a matchup where you don't mind going wide. One of the other problems Zoo has had in a lot of Hearthstone recently is, Shudderwock Shaman, any Shaman control just wipes out your board, and you don't have the time to draw enough cards to get back on board and do that damage. But against Quest Rogue, you do have a license to just go as wide as you want. No spreading plagues, nothing like that to worry about, and just old school hit him in the face.
Yeah, Glacier with a little bit of an interesting build here. He's running 2 copies of Fan of Knives, 1 copy of Mimic Pod, and then only 1 copy of the Stone Tusk Boar. So a little bit all over the place with his...
yeah, the Stone Tusk Boars have been slowly being phased out.
Right. You rarely see just 1, though. You usually see 2 Stone Tusk Boars or 0 Stone Tusk Boars. It's kind of odd to just go with only the 1.
Yeah, I've seen 1 played a couple of times. It's basically... because you tend to keep a weapon up when you go into Valera, that the deckhands tend to be better. And I don't think you win with the charge. Against maybe Warrior you do, but as much as you used to in the olden days, it's not so much of a hit you over and over again with charge minions OTK you deck. It's more of a play your giggling inventors and do that over
giggle.
and over.
Right, yeah.
Just giggle.
You just giggle a little bit as you sit there with your 12-12s, essentially. That's going to be hard to come back from. That is a lot of stats worth of stuff. Even though Glacier has the Sonya, which is incredibly powerful, you see him smirk there as the double Happy Ghoul hits the field, and he knows that he's probably utterly screwed.
Obviously, one of the things in Last Hero compared to Conquest is your pick order matters a lot more.
Right.
Glaser really lost this potential to get some decent wins out of this rogue early on, just by...
Yeah.
He had to queue it into the Odd Warrior to get the win, and maybe he thought Purple was going to open with that, and Purple didn't.
Yeah, now that the Odd Warrior, or now that the Quest Rogue is going to be most likely eliminated, Purple's going to have a much easier time, as you said, getting that Odd Warrior out. Now the Odd Warrior has 2, pretty okay matchups against the Even Warlock and the Token Druid. So the Quest Rogue was only really bad against the Zoo. It was okay against Odd Rogue, that matchup. Some people say that matchup's like all over the Odd Rogue. Odd Rogue wins every time. I think at the higher levels it's slightly deceptive, and it's a lot closer than people tend to believe. But against the Zoo, the Quest Rogue has a really hard time.
Yeah, I think this might be the worst matchup. This just so hard to stop this early damage.
Besides like Tempo Mage, right? Tempo Mage is the deck that's like... It almost feels like Blizzard was like, let's design a deck that beats Quest Rogue. Well, how do we do that? And then they make Tempo Mage, where the Quest Rogue has to play minions to activate their quest to die to explosive wounds. You got counterspell to counterspell the quest. So, it's not quite that level of counter on it, but it's pretty up there.
How do you feel about Quest Rogue in Last Hero in general? The fact it can sweep if your opponent brings a bad lineup seems a good thing?
Well, the thing about sweeping if your opponent builds a bad lineup is Quest Rogue's a deck everyone's aware of. Like, it's not a sneaky one. People are just like, ooh, someone brought Quest Rogue. Oh, no. It's like, well, let's build our lineup and let's make sure we know Quest Rogue's a thing and have a deck for that. So I feel like everyone should be having some purpose-built deck in their lineup to counter the Quest Rogue. And sometimes you can get in a situation, though, where you beat that deck with some other deck in your lineup and then can sweep with the Quest Rogue afterwards. I do tend to believe polarized decks can be quite strong in Conquest, in Last Year's Standing, but still, when you build a polarized lineup like that, you're going to have to be relying on the queuing order. And that's maybe that's part of your strength. Maybe you're a good mental game player and you can get the right cues, but a lot of players tend to kind of steer away from lineups that rely on this because it feels a bit chance-related.
I do think that when the meta gets polarized this time is when Last Hero shines. Conquest, when the meta is like this, can be a little bit of a lottery, but Last Hero, you do, like you say, you bring your own decks and you know what they're going to play against. Like, you don't have to open with your Rogue here if you really want to counter the Warrior with it.
Exactly.
But I think maybe Glaser expected Purple to open with the Warrior to get it out of the way, try to snipe him down, and Purple just, no, I'm not having any of that.
The mind games with it.
I give up.
And the randomization, not a thing, because there is an optimal correct start. You have to work out what percentage of the time your opponent's going to go for the bluff and the double bluff.
Yeah, I mean, technically you can solve and figure out what is the best thing to open with, but it becomes the worst thing to open with when your opponent also does that math and figures it out as well.
So they have to open with it X%, and then you have to solve for X, and then you have to go that way, which makes it a lot more interesting than just flipping a coin. I'll open with this deck because it said so. A three-sided coin, but you know.
I always have three-sided coins.
I mean, that's Detroit money for you.
They just definitely work better. The triangle coin, right?
Makes vending machines a real nightmare, though.
Wow. Yeah, you just got to find the right vending machine.
Three-sided coin vending machines.
They're rare, but you can seek them out, you know, every once in a while. And then you look at everybody else and like, huh, look at this idiot, no three-sided coins.
Yeah, as they walk past with their drinks, they bought the old-fashioned easy way. You're still trying to jam this pyramid into a box. So Purple getting that one done. It's Last Hero. He will play Zoo again. Glazer's chance to counter are going to be down to his Token Druid or his own Even Lock.
And he's not going to want to pick Token Druid. If there's one thing Zoo's designed to counter, it's probably Druid. Typically does quite well versus Druid. Purple doesn't have any anti-Druid techs. You're not going to see the Mossy Horror in there. He has instead, like I've been saying, the Tar Creepers. So not good tech choices for beating up Druid, but still at the same time, you'd much prefer to just go in with the Even Warlock. It's got the AoE ability to take down Zoo boards, you know, Defiles, Hellfires, things of that nature. So we're most likely going to see the Even Warlock unless there's some next level strategy coming out here where he wants to save the Token Druid for something specific.
So with that in mind, Glaser, again, just losing that Rogue is such a big deal when the Warrior is still hanging in there. Because your Token Druid's going to have to play that at some point. Or that's no fun at all.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Typically speaking, it is believed that Even Warlock is favored versus Odd Warrior according to stats. I'd say the matchup is leaning slightly in Odd Warrior favor from what I've seen at High Legend gameplay. Oftentimes the Odd Warrior can just remove all the threats. The big thing that comes down in that matchup is the Skulking Geist timing. If Even Warlock has a Skulking Geist early, they get rid of the Shield Slams, their threats start to stick, things start to happen. But if they don't have the Skulking Geist early, the Shield Slams get value on the Giants, the threat removal lines up really well for the Warrior, and the Odd Warrior fatigues them. Especially with Azalina being able to copy the hand of the opponent, and you can become Gul'dan as the Warrior in the uber late game is pretty nutty. But
Azalina is like the least caster-friendly card ever.
It's really fun. I like it a lot.
Because then the players can see both hands as well, so there's nothing for us to say.
Well, you can solve it. You can figure out the optimal line.
But so can they.
Yeah.
And they're pros. So are you. And I'm a caster.
It works out.
It is. It's fun to watch Azalina games in progress because you can just work out exact mistakes.
Even Warlock from Glacier coming out against the Zoo from Purple. We stuck in the mulligan screen here for a minute, but the tech choices from Glacier and his Even Warlock. He's running double Acidic Swamp Ooze and double Sun Fury Protector, which is a little bit rare. Lots of just in general 2-drops in the build for him. Double Plated Beetle, double Acidic Swamp Ooze, and double Sun Fury Protector. A lot of times you'll see the Even Warlock players on ladder especially move away from so much early game to have a little bit more late game / tech cards. But he's running the full early game package of 2-drops kind of possible in the deck, which is going to help him out a lot against Zoo, just having stuff in play all the time.
Yeah, people tend to forget that Ooze can actually just be played as a minion. I mean, they don't forget it, but you know what I mean? It's in the deck, it's a 3-2 for 2. There are no fantastic 3-2 for 2s anyway. They might just have an ability tacked onto them.
It's the full 2-drop ensemble in the Even Warlock is something that really helps your matchup against Odd Rogue. Having a minion in play to make it so that your Hellfires and Spellstones for 3 can contest Henchclan Thug is super important. So I feel like his tech choices are gearing towards that.
Yeah. I also feel that a lot of 2-drops in this helps your turn 6 is often underrated as well. Like you get to Hellfire and then play a minion, reoccupy the board, so they don't just reload against you, for instance. It's not just the turn 2 that it influences.
Yeah, it looks like Purple hit the board running pretty early with a solid curve. Lands the Fungal Mancer on 4 with the coin and is just jamming all face, hoping there's no Hooked Reaver. And of course, as everybody's experience against Even Warlock is, they always have the Hooked Reaver.
Of course.
Yeah.
I mean, in fairness, they've drawn a million cards a lot of the time. So
they shouldn't always
have
have it. It's crazy. It's crazy. They always have it. But he's kind of sensing a weakness in his opponent's AoE at the moment, right? Because if you look at how it panned out, the Glacier let the Fungal Mancer come down. Now, the reasons being he could have let the Fungal Mancer come down. Maybe he has the Hook Reaver and he's planning towards getting the Hook Reaver active and he's just saving the AoE, or maybe he doesn't have the AoE, and that's what Purple's kind of thinking. And so,
I mean, do you mind if he Hellfires you now and you hit him with a Doom Guard and put him on 1?
Yeah, exactly. You also have the follow-up to this, so it's pretty cookie cutter there from Purple. Just the pressure kind of worked. He got a bunch of damage in. Maybe Glacier should have Hellfired earlier instead of going for this Hooked Reaver, but now he's kind of in a pickle.
He is.
Yeah, he's going to have to maybe play some 2-drops and taunt while trading with that Giant, because Hellfire going down to 6 life here is pretty unacceptable. You could Hellfire with the Plated Beetle, maybe to stay at 9, so you're not going to just die to the Doom Guard that's Skeleset buffed, but taunts are probably coming down, yeah. And he's going face. He wants to be able to, you know what, I'm dying. I got no life.
Yeah, and he sets up his own lethal.
Right.
I mean, it's not going to happen because of the way the trades will work, but he has actually set up his own lethal on them. That's one way to stop your opponent killing you, is
right.
kill them.
Kill them. Yeah. Now left with the decision here. He has some flip plays with the Soulfire. You could Soulfire and try and keep the Doom Guard to be able to push through more efficiently here.
Here he goes.
The Doom Guard is gone.
And of course, it was the KLSF on 2 that was in that hand before that we had the problem, so it was lethal setup last turn.
Yeah. So almost there. The 50-50 lethal flip for Purple ends in failure. So Glacier has a little bit more wiggle room in this game, and that means a little bit more wiggle room in this series. Because if he loses this match right now, the series is very, very rough to come back from. Not only because he'd be down 2-0, but because his remaining deck does not do well against Purple's Zoo.
And he's looking like if he can get this turn right and then clear up, just get something on the board, maybe have to risk a Soulfire, maybe not.
Yeah.
He has got enough in hand just to take this over starting next turn.
Yeah, Doom Guard would be lethal if Purple's able to find it here, but
doesn't want to risk it, so no Homunculus there. Just why put yourself in a position where you can lose to 2 outs?
1 drops, not a lot of health here. That means the Bone Mare could potentially come down, giving Glacier a taunt.
Yeah, and again, just go check those lethal setups, but don't see why he wouldn't do that.
That is a big beetle.
And that decision to go face with the Mountain Giant's looking like a cracking one, because he'd still be trading boards if he hadn't.
Right, he's able to gain so much extra damage, and with that so much extra momentum, and able to barely stabilize there. From a 50-50 to lose the game and potentially the series, stabilizes the board, able to take that one. The Zoo is now out of the way. The Even Warlock is still up. Now, traditionally, the answer to Even Warlock is usually Odd Rogue.
Okay.
But the way Glacier has his deck built, I would not be too surprised to see Odd Warrior come out here from Purple instead of Odd Rogue. I think it's definitely a debatable choice here of which one counters it a little bit better. The downside of going with the Odd Warrior into the Even Warlock is Odd Warrior would be better saved for the Token Druid.
Right.
So then that kind of leans you back to say, even though he's teched for Odd Rogue still, as an archetype, is more favored, so let's just jam that one.
I think that's the thing people do overlook in Last Hero. It's not just about countering what you just saw. There's still a match to be played.
So yeah, that's why we see the Odd Rogue come out here instead of the Odd Warrior. As well, the Odd Rogue from Purple with the, of course, the Tar Creepers is in all of his decks, including this Odd Rogue. But it's complemented by the double Scalebane, which is a tech choice that not a lot of players have been using in their Rogue decks for a while now. Scalebane fell way out of favor with Giggling Inventor coming in, taking up some of that 5-drop real estate. And now they're starting to see play again here, and they complement the Tar Creepers very well, so Purple's brought them back.
Looking at how Purple has built this lineup with the Odd Warrior, the Zoo, the Melee Druid, and the Odd Rogue, just to remind you, it seems that he expected there to be a lot of aggro. He concluded that aggro was the best, and so he's built his aggro with winning the mirror in mind. Right. And he's just thrown in the Odd Warrior because, yeah, you beat aggro.
You beat
really well.
aggro, yeah.
And so he seems to have enough tech in there to win the mirrors with his aggro decks. He's concluded they're good. And rather than try to go one level higher, he's just gone with the same level, basically, but tech for mirrors.
Right. And there's like so many one-ofs in this this odd rogue from purple. He has the one-of Blood Knight. He has Edwin Van Cleef in there. He has a one-of Vicious Fledgling and a one-of Giggling Inventor. So he's kind of all over the place with things Glacier has to think about and worry about with the tech choices there.
I think one-ofs in open decklist formats are very interesting, because you can make your opponent have to play around stuff that isn't even there, or at least make them think that they have
think
to play
about it. Right? Yeah.
They have to constantly think about too much.
They have to weigh a lot more odds for sure.
The rise and fall of Giggling Inventor fascinates me.
It's a good card still.
I mean, because it's so good, it's getting hated out. So playing two of them is a dangerous proposition a lot of the time.
I think it's definitely overplayed for sure. We saw there was, what, 168 of them at EU playoffs.
It's a lot of giggling.
That's a lot of giggling. It is the most played card above Serenite Chain Gang, which is like the first time Serenite Chain Gang wasn't the most played neutral card in like a year. So.
And even that may change back, I think, for APAC and for
Chain Gang's on the rise. It's
because it's
so
much harder to counter.
Yeah, you can't counter it. It's just a good card.
Like you can't Mossy Horror. It's too slow.
Right. Well, every deck that has Chain Gang has Keleseth, which then you can't Mossy Horror anymore anyway.
For sure.
Yeah.
It doesn't fall to Blood Knight.
Right.
I mean, it trades over 2 turns, but who cares?
MC Tech is kind of a tech against the Chain Gang.
Yes, but then that's even better against Giggling anyway.
Chain Gang's so popular. I saw Zalay play Chain Gang in Quest Rogue.
I was just going to say that.
He was shadow stepping Chain Gangs in Quest Rogue and stuff like that. It's just, man, it's crazy.
But it doesn't feel as disgusting as Giggling feels when it happens against you.
Yeah.
It's just more subtly good.
Yeah, it's not as swingy for sure.
Is it Zalay or is it Zalay now?
Yes. He likes to go by both. He doesn't really mind either way or the other. So, Zalay. Spellstone coming out to help stabilize this board. So it's a weird proposition here because the Warlock kind of wants to take a little bit of damage so that they can get towards the Hooked Reaver.
But not too much in case he just gets killed off by a Vile Spine and all that is for nothing.
So the Spellstone comes out pretty early there. And now there's no answer for the Scalebane after the Spellstone's been played. Maybe fired off a little bit too early on the Spellstone. Obviously, he didn't really have another way to answer the Henchman Thug, but sometimes it's okay to ignore your opponent's threats and develop into the first one, so you take a little bit more damage for that Hooked Reaver, set up your AoEs a little better. I'm really surprised to see Glacier go with the Spellstone as early as he did, and it's kind of fallen into a conundrum here.
It's going to be interesting over the next couple of turns because he's managed to preserve the coin. The turn 7 is often the tricky turn for this even Warlock, where it just wastes mana, a lot of it, and just plays what it can. Because he's kept the coin, that's going to make turn 7 possibly a really powerful turn as long as he gets that far.
Yeah, it's seeming a little hard right now. He's got to set up a Defile somehow. Somehow he's got to be able to clear this board. There's 5s and 2s for the health totals on the board. You can trade in the Drake to get a 1, but I'm not seeing immediately how this Defile is going to work.
Yeah, where's your 3 coming from? Player 7/7. Does that help him enough? I mean, he doesn't think he does because he'll be expecting things to get blown up, but it will function as 7 more health.
So now he has the 1 and the 4. So with the Defile here, you can 1, 2, 3, and then Hellfire.
Yeah, he's just going to set up the Hooked Reaver.
Okay.
I mean, this is the play to win. If your opponent just got the kill, which he has, then so be it.
This guy's tough.
But if you just go through the Hellfire and let your opponent re-establish what you're doing next turn to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. It's a tough matchup for sure. Even when you have those extra 2 drops and all the stuff in there for the early game, the Rogue has so many great tools. We didn't even have to see a Vile Spine come out from purple or anything like that. The Scalebane just going unanswered is... It's an oldie but a goodie. You haven't seen it in Rogue in a while, but it was in there in the beginning for a reason, and it's because it really can snowball a game into a victory quite quickly.
There's not much spot removal out there across the board anymore either. Even Warrior, a lot of them don't even play Execute because they're usually odd decks now.
Yeah,
so AoE is much more important than spot removal at the moment in the meta. I mean, there's some. There's Vile Spine, obviously. There's Naturalize, there's Spellstones, but it's nowhere near. There's no polymorph in a lot of decks.
Right.
Etc. So having a good old 5/5 that just hangs around and says AoE me or I'm going to buff my friends seems like a good time to come back into the meta.
Keeping double Hench Clan Thug, really valuing those 3 drops there from purple. Not really worried too much about a one-drop in this matchup. Typically, your one-drops kind of stick around and just buff your opponent's spreading plague. So there's some of the actual lower win rate cards in the matchup against Druid is the aggressive odd rogue is your one-drops, which seems counterintuitive, but it's true.
Yeah, I like the idea against Druid of having a great board that intends to win you the game by about turn 4 or 5. And just protecting that particular board, smashing through Spreading Plague much more quickly, giving them far less health than the Spreading Plagues. And 4/4s and 5/5 gets the job done pretty quickly, it turns out.
Yeah, no kidding. And Glacier is playing the Violet Teacher build, as indicated here by the Oaken summons. A lot of players have been switching to the Chain Gang build with Floop, but this is the classic Token Druid from kind of last month.
I don't know if he's changed his mind, but Fino was tweeting that he doesn't believe in the new version.
Doesn't believe in it.
Glaser's Fino's teammate.
Okay, that's fair then. That makes a lot of sense. I think both versions are quite good. They both put up performances, a lot of ladder finishes with the old school Token Druid, and a lot of ladder finishes with the new school Token Druid.
The difference being, so I don't know how you would evaluate this when you were playing or when you do play now. A new deck comes along, does really well, kind of by default sometimes because people
don't know what
wrong,
to do,
play badly.
Exactly.
How do you go about establishing whether something new is like real or not?
Well, you have to, play it in kind of closed circuit. So then you get, your teammates together or what have you. You play against each other with open deck lists kind of thing. Or sometimes even open hands is a really great way to see if a deck performs really well. When you know how to play against everything in your opponent's hand, is it still powerful?
Right.
So, you kind of have to evaluate that.
That's typical Purple there. Doesn't like messing around when he's lost, does he?
No. And this version of Token Druid, I would say, does a lot worse against Odd Warrior than the other version of Token Druid.
Yes.
The other version has Giggling Inventors. The other version has the Chain Gangs. It has the Floop for additional Giggling Inventors and Chain Gangs. So it just has more things to do. And the old school version of Token Druid has not too much. It's got 2 copies of Whispering Woods, and then some matchups you can kind of use Plague as another board, and then it has Violet Teachers, and that's it. So you really only have 4 boards you can develop. And Odd Warrior has plenty of board clears to kill all 4 of those boards. So you have to be really careful how you generate boards and how you space them out so that you don't find yourself out of gas too quickly.
So your Spreading Plague is crucial if you can try and get a Spreading Plague branching past Vet down and maybe force a brawl or force something.
Yeah. If you can make them AoE something that's not Whispering Woods, it's very good for you, but it's tricky to do.
And sometimes you just see people go, okay, he hasn't quite got a hand for it, but he might get a buff. I'm just going to Whispering Woods on 4. Have you got it?
Yeah, exactly. And Dynamatic there is a huge pickup for Purple. Very powerful card in the matchup. Lines up really well against Violet Teacher, so being able to take that off that assembly there is pretty nutty.
I think this is one of the matchups where Violet Teacher, I mean, like you say, maybe the other version's even better, but you can try and force that removal out here. But when your opponent's just going to Dynamatic it in a couple of turns, it's early enough, I guess.
Purple's build of Warrior is pretty teched for this matchup. He picks up an Abomination, too. That card is really good against Token Druid because what you can do with it is the turn they're going to kind of Savage Roar, kind of kill you sort of thing. You plop that down on the field, and then suddenly, even if the minions are Solo the Forested, it kills the first half of the minions.
Yep.
So it can prevent their burst for an entire turn.
Then you get another turn of trying to establish yourself. Well, Dynamatic is going to be a bit too slow here due to how Glaser's gone about this.
And Purple's build of Warrior has double Whirlwind and a Barongeddon. So
Barongeddon.
Every AoE card that you can put in Warrior is in his deck except for Abomination, I guess, but he's been able to pull one now. So he's got the entire AoE toolkit. Glacier's got to really make his cards stretch the distance.
This is something, I mean, you're talking about the skill and the strength of Purple as a player, but his vision when he's building lineups like this.
It's worked out wonderfully.
He works out where his weak spots are and covers them with minimal. Like, who cares? You've got yourself 1 card and you put a Barongeddon in it. And it's changed one matchup entirely. And it probably has very literally 0 influence on anything else.
Yeah, Barongeddon's a really fun card. I like cards with flashy animations. I like Missile Launcher. I really like Barongeddon. I ladder with Purple occasionally, and whatever deck we're playing, one of the rules is we play Barongeddon, and we always keep it in the mulligan. Yeah, whenever I play with Purple, we play Barongeddon, and we always keep it in the mulligan. So we were playing Mecha Cthulhu Warlock at Top 100 Legend last season with Barongeddon.
I haven't seen some of those streams where you guys get together. They're pretty hilarious.
Yeah.
Tune in to Fireback and watch.
It's just a funny card. And it catches people off guard, too. And Barongeddon's in the meta. you know, people play around it. They respect the the 2 damage AoE on 7. But when they don't expect it and you just blindside them in a deck that shouldn't run Baron-Geddon with Baron-Geddon, it is really funny.
I mean, it's a weird time to say it because that's not the case right now, but Mind Control Tech's another of those cards.
Wow.
When it's not in the meta,
It's like
you suddenly
super in the meta.
At the moment, everybody plays around it, so now is the time to take them out almost. But
if I'm playing against a Zalay, and no matter what deck he's playing, if he's playing Quest Rogue, if he's playing anything, I'm going to play on MC Tech. He could be playing Jaina Mage, just whatever. He always has MC Tech in his decks right now, and a lot of players are like that. So
such a good card right now. It's another reason that Giggling Inventor is turning into a one-of in a lot of decks.
I cut Giggling Inventor completely. I'm never playing more than 3 minions ever again. I am just, I'm shocked from the
Zalay trauma.
The trauma of MC Tech. I can't.
Time waits for no one.
Did he go like 5 and 2 against you? He seems to go 5 and 2 a lot. That
Yeah, 5 and 2, no matter what.
Very consistent. Well, Glaser doing whatever he can to try and organise something resembling a threatening-looking board, but he's doing anything but right now in terms of success rate.
Yeah.
It's actually Purple just going to end this with minions.
It seems tough for Glacier. He's losing in terms of health total. He's losing in terms of board presence. He's losing in terms of cards in hand. He's losing in terms of cards in deck. So there's not a lot going for him at the moment.
There's not a lot going for you when round 1 of a DreamHack this big, you run into Purple. I know someone's got to, but...
Yeah, I've usually when I played in DreamHacks, the last 3 DreamHacks I competed in, I versed Dog round 1.
That's not funny. The Dog's got an amazing
Dog is good.
DreamHack record. He's one of the absolute highest. I tend not to quote him in stats because he's not like an active DreamHack player anymore.
Right.
But I mean, when his number's included in stats, he is super, super good.
Yeah, and you know, you can thank me for padding his numbers a little bit. I lost first round of my last 3 DreamHacks, I'm pretty sure, to Dog every single time.
And you've done pretty well at DreamHacks yourself, haven't you?
Done all right.
Spectacular. But
I've won a few in the past, and but as of lately, I'm not the greatest DreamHack record performer.
You're doing really well today, though, so far.
Thank you. You too. I've already won round 1, basically, right?
Looks that way, yeah.
Yeah, doing well. I got the prediction potentially correct.
Yeah, this is bad for me. This is bad for my reputation.
Yeah, you're supposed to be the prediction guy.
You looked at the deck lists.
I did, yeah. Well, of course. It's
I
part
just
of
look
the
at
job.
the people.
The people.
You know, Glazer's looking confident, Purple looking a bit nervous. I don't know.
Well, Purple always looks a little
I
nervous.
look at he does.
He always it's like he's clearly had 7 or 8 cups of coffee, no matter when you see him, and he's always shaking a little bit. But you know.
To be fair, he looks as calm as I've seen him.
Well, once he sits down, he gets zoned in. But pre-game, he's always like, you know, on his 5th cup of coffee, and just get the jitters a little bit. But then he sits down, he starts twirling his hair, and you know, he gets that focus.
Glazer's struggling a little bit for focus in this particular spot. It's so hard when you know what's going to happen and you're playing for that 0.1%.
He's out of Violet Teachers now, right? So this Oaken Summons is a dead card. He's sitting on a Whispering Wisps that doesn't really do anything until he's finding an ultimate infestation.
Just say he needs that UI. It's every card.
And then the downside is, once he gets that UI, he really only has these 2 Whispering Woods boards, and Purple already has the answers for him in his hand. So I don't see this ending in any way except either Glacier getting run over by not finding the card draw he needs, or
losing anyway.
By losing in fatigue later on when his boards get answered. And once Purple's used all this AoE, Glacier's going to have most likely a Spreading Plague or some defensive tools left in his hand afterwards that he wasn't able to extend onto the board. And then Purple can then just take it using the Azalina there.
I think one of the reasons, forgetting Quest Rogue for a minute, because that's a special case, why this meta is so polarized is everybody draws all their cards. So if everybody gets to use all their cards,
then it's very consistent one way or another, yes, yeah.
So I think that's something that's contributing to this polarized meta, making all these matchups one way or the other.
It's interesting. The game is too consistent right now.
Yeah, it's
causes polarization.
Have we ever moaned about that before? I don't think so.
There's always a new thing to complain about, right?
Yeah.
Glacier has been able to build a pretty formidable board against all the odds here, but that's mainly just because Purple's not using the removal yet.
He's letting him. I mean,
yeah.
The question's going to be, can you make 3 more? Not 1 more.
2 Brawls, an Abomination still, another Dynamatic, the Beryllium Nullifier here coming out to now make Little Armor Man big armor man. Eternium Rover here is a 4/11, can't be targeted, that every time it takes damage, purple's going to gain 2 armor. So if you thought his life total was big at 41, it's about to get a whole lot bigger.
Won't matter though if Glaser can force out a flurry. I quite like saving the Rover until you get low on armor, just in case you need to flurry later for 2 and clear up a board. It's a thing I like to do.
Okay. Yeah, a flurry. He's already used 1 flurry though, so I mean it's just good board presence to have a 4/11 that can't be targeted.
No, I mean sure, I get it. Certainly not saying that was wrong. He's in a position where he's forcing Glaser not only to have the stuff but have it soon. Yeah, it wasn't gain armor, which is not where you want to be as a token druid. And yeah, like you say, one of the flurries gone is a big deal. Don't think there's long left for this game. Second UI will delay it slightly, I guess.
I don't even know how you come back on this board as Glacier.
You shut your eyes and you play Wood, Soul of the Forest and hope that the bottom 7 cards of the Warrior deck are all its AoE. And that he didn't get Abomination earlier on.
Yeah. It's
basically everything that isn't happening.
He's got 2 copies of Soul of the Forest.
It is.
So that's helpful. He's just stringing resources onto the table so slowly. Both the Violet Teachers died without doing much. These Arcane Tyrants, I don't think, came down at a super ideal time, but I don't think there's any way he could have played these cards that would have made him win this game with how it kind of panned out.
And again, purple, you're saying about the board presence, this 4/10, this is saving him his AoE now.
Yeah, there's
just stopping Glaser to be able to get scary.
That's why I was curious about why he even played the Tyrant there. I guess he's risking, he would overdraw if he doesn't play it there, but sometimes it's okay to overdraw if you can get tempo swings, and 0 mana 4/4s are a good way to potentially generate that tempo.
Probably doesn't want to overdraw the second Wisps. Too important, I think.
Too important, yeah. He would have overdrawn Malfurion. That would have been a bummer.
Yeah, that could be a key card in sometimes just getting that extra damage through.
Yeah.
If your deck can only do 30-odd damage in 1 turn and your opponent's on however much 28 and 16 is. Sounds like a lot, though.
Yeah, you get those hero powers start going. The bummer is you do 3 and they heal for 4, so it's hard to catch up.
Yeah, keeps it under control, especially if you can force a flurry.
Yeah, yeah.
Then it'll keep it under control. But I mean, we're only talking about it in general terms because we can see Purple's hand is just not having any accidents in this game. The Whirlwind in particular is so ridiculously good.
He gets 2 copies of Whirlwind in his deck. His deck is purpose-built for this matchup.
It's nice when you can leave half the Druids in the tournament up. I don't know what the number is, but it'll be around
a lot of
third
players
to a half, yeah.
Are bringing the token build, yeah. I guess it's not too difficult to counter the token build. I mean, granted, he has changed, you know, he's had to alter 5 or 6 cards from traditional Odd Warrior.
But again, he believes strongly that you can keep a matchup nearly as powerful in its favourables and strongly increase its unfavourables, and not quite the case in this exact one when you've got a favourable to start with, but he strongly believes changing 1 or 2 cards and just giving you a better chance in some games is a big deal, and we're going to see that big deal right now, what this Whirlwind is going to do. For the sake of being slightly weaker in a mirror or slightly weaker against another control deck.
It's definitely a lot weaker in a mirror.
Sure.
Yeah.
Again, it's the whole you see all your deck thing, and one of them is a Whirlwind, sure.
Yeah, a Whirlwind instead of, say, a Zola, which would be able to copy a Dire Horn in the mirror.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so I imagine Purple's Odd Warrior is almost never going to be able to take a mirror, but that's the thing about Purple. He is a fatigue player. I've seen him fatigue people with decks that should not be able to fatigue anybody. So even with tech wrong for the mirror, I would still probably say Purple's got a fair shot at mirrors.
Is he a fatigue player or is he just an alternative win condition player? I've seen him win games that no one has a right to win. I mean, fatigue's just one of the subsets of that, right?
Yeah, I guess. He plays for fatigue a lot, for sure. Whenever I've streamed with him or played with him, we always, whenever we start losing, it's just like, all right, how do we fatigue him? It always turns into really fun, wacky games. And
that's
with it being, it's an Azalina meta, so like there's a lot of really wacky fatigue win conditions utilizing Azalina to do all sorts of crazy nonsense.
And it's weird, looking at his lineup, you might not think it, but I feel that Purple, the more complicated matchups get, the better he gets. Like, the more things there are for your opponent to mess up, but not you, the better and better Purple becomes, because he just doesn't mess up.
Yeah.
famous last words, but you know what I mean. As he now just like accidentally hits himself in the face for 45 next turn. So the second Soul of the Forest is going to allow some sort of play here if he wants it.
He's just letting the board go. This seemed odd. I'm not really sure what he's going for with this, but
He's going for the old, my opponent can't have it or I lose.
well,
Anyway.
I can't have it or I lose would maybe be Soul the Foresting the Tree Ents to get another wave of Tree Ents. I guess he's waiting for the other Wisps to make that board, but it seems like he could have just went for it now if that was the plan. So I'm interested where his head's at. He's in a very unfavored spot, and he's got to put something together. Maybe he's hoping purple will AoE this, which would then give him the ability to go in with the second. But
Well, that's everything. So purple has complete information right now.
yeah.
I mean, in fairness, we talk about players having complete information as if they can remember every deck list because they're machines. They get something like 5 or 7 minutes to remember every single tech card. So this one, he might have complete information because there's nothing fruity in Glaser's deck. But as we say that phrase all day, sometimes they won't have 100% info.
Yeah, yeah. The Token Druid, though, is a fairly standard all 2-ofs from last month's Token Druid. So
Yeah,
sometimes
he'll
people play one Oaken Summons and then include one tech card in the build, but Glacier has the double Oaken Summons, so it's fairly easy to know every single card. And I expect purple to have memorized all the cards in Glacier's hand at the moment.
And actually looking at the hand, unless he forgets the Oaken Summons, that's an easy to remember hand because they're all key cards you have to remember in the matchup.
Exactly. So the health total keeps going up.
That doesn't sound like it's going the right way for Glaser.
He does have a big board now with the Death Knight, and he has the ability to create a very sticky board with the Whispering Woods and the Soul of the Forest. So he's hoping right now that he's going to bait away enough removal from purple to where that his second board is going to win him the game.
The trouble is purple's bought himself an extra life. He's on so much health that even if somehow, which isn't going to happen, he did slip up, he probably doesn't die from the first attack anyway anymore.
Yeah, even 2 roars is not going to be enough to get 60 a lot of the time. You're going to need a lot of minions in play for that to be the case.
So Glaser has managed to do a pretty good job of getting board after board, but we've been able to see from purple's hand right from early on that, I mean, the Whirlwind's still there.
Yeah, he can Whirlwind Brawl, Whirlwind Reckless Flurry.
Again, what I was talking about, see every card in the deck. I mean, Glaser knows what's coming this turn, but there are cards left in purple's deck, so you have to play to your chances, which is that they work these cards.
And purple is going to be taking it 3-2. The lineup's kind of panned out really well for him. We had Glacier with the first sort of opening game where he had Quest Rogue up against the Zoo from purple. Went poorly for him, and then counter cues all the way through the rest of it, and lined up how you'd kind of expect it to go from that point.
And you say that like it's an accident in some ways, but that would have been a mind game on both sides. Like, I need to get my Quest Rogue into that Warrior, and he'll probably open with it to avoid that happening, so I'll open with it. Purple sidestepping it one way or the other.
Right.
So that's just the first of our games here today, but as always with DreamHack, we have got a backup game ready for you. We are going to be going into Racy and Boston in a moment or two, 2 other very well-respected pros on the circuit. Anything you think of those 2 guys?
Racy, I've played Pictionary with him a little bit. I've actually not played Hearthstone against him too much, but he's a pretty terrible drawer in Pictionary.
Yeah.
I want to I guess.
Were you on his team or against him?
It was kind of like one of those free-for-all sort of things where the word pops up and you have to draw it and then everybody kind of guesses. So Racy, not a top-tier Pictionary player, but a top-tier Hearthstone player, and that's what's more important here.
And Boston is just, I think of Boston, I think of absolute, one of the most solid players in the world. Nothing flashy, nothing big, but absorbing information all the time. He's quite quiet to be around, and when he does disagree with you, he will let you know. We're going to find out who wins that one, but first of all, we're just going to get them set up, and we'll see you in a moment.